Are you a high-performing parent, entrepreneur, or high achiever in pursuit of excellence? Welcome to The Nexus Podcast, a podcast custom tailored for families like ours, driven, affluent, and eager to lead extraordinary lives. From rockstar stay-at-home moms to high-producing CEOs, we choose to model success for everyone we are surrounded by. We prioritize health over sickness, embrace a vitalistic lifestyle, and seek to tap into the limitless potential that God has bestowed upon us. I'm Dr. Daniel Kimbley, your host, and on this podcast, we'll uncover the secrets to living a fulfilling and abundant life, where you and your loved ones can thrive physically, mentally, and spiritually. Together, we'll forge a path to greatness and unleash your God-given capabilities. Get ready to say yes to a life of true prosperity and well-being. This is The Nexus Podcast. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. You know I'm the host, Dr. Daniel, as my daughter just shared, and I literally just got back from the trampoline park. You can literally see the wristband on my wrist. And I am fired up, and I'm going to throw some heat and some flame, and I'm going to talk about some research. And the reason I'm going to do that is because as I'm bouncing around with my daughter, so one of the things you guys got to know, just back up for a second, is every time my wife and I do anything fun, whether it's take Coco to the fun box, whether we go to the trampoline park, like whatever it is, we're all in kind of parents, so like we're doing the stuff with them. So it always breaks my heart. And again, this is no judgment. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. Some of you listening probably in this boat, but I just think it's important to share from the perspective of like where this conversation that I'm about to share with you came from. And it really wasn't even a conversation because the dude didn't want to have a conversation. He just wanted to make some backhanded comments and then go on his way. While not being all in his life at all, and his physical body showed for it. So anyway, I'll get to that in a second. And again, this is not to be a hater. This is not to talk trash. This is not to be negative. This is not to be a dickhead or an asshole or whatever it is. Forgive me for the language. However, what I want to share with you is this idea that Heather and I are all in parents. So like when we go to the trampoline park, we're not sitting on our phones watching our daughter run around. Like we're in it with her, jumping off the stuff, doing flips off stuff, trying new things, encouraging her, falling down and failing, because guess what? The more we can model this kind of stuff as parents, the more we are going to build kiddos and build character in our kids who are going to be more successful in life. So really what this whole conversation of this episode comes down to is success, and why you have been radically lied to unless you've had deep conversations with me about what I'm about to share with you. And it has to do with chiropractic care, and here's why. So we get back from the trampoline park, you literally see that I still have the wristband on my wrist, and I'm there. Coco and I are jumping around. She was a little upset, and we're coming out of the little toddler area, and this guy looks at my shirt. Well, like the whole family's walking down, and like everybody's kind of staring at me awkwardly. And then the last guy, was clearly the grandpa, is like, "Oh, you're a chiropractor." He's like, "You must just wait until everybody falls and gets hurt and then invite them into your office." And I'm like, "Actually, dude, that's not at all how my practice works, because one, we see very few people for pain. Yes, we can help people get out of pain, but we do no marketing of pain." And there's a number of reasons for that, because how we operate and how we use chiropractic care is a direct function of achievement, of optimal performance, and understanding the research that's involved with you being able to live a long, healthy life, to be successful, to make more money, to be more connected and have better relationships, to have a better connection to God, to have more faith, hope, and optimism. And I'm going to share all that with you on this episode, because the biggest lie that you've been told, that I was told my entire life until I learned this on my own and I started putting the research and the science of it together, is that we've been told that chiropractors are neck pain, back pain, and headache doctors. And while we're great with those things, really what chiropractic care at its core is really all about is allowing someone to express their 100% God-given potential. You heard me get so fired up about this, because on every episode of the podcast, I'm literally talking about why and how we adjust, and why we adjust my daughter, and why we see people's immune system change, why we see people switch jobs, why we see people feel more connected, why we see people restore relationships, why we see people go after their sole purpose and passion, why we see people take more risks and express life full out the way they're supposed to. And the reason that happens inside of our office is because of the way that we address and adjust the body. Because here's what we know. This is research. This is research, okay? So the research from Dr. Heidi Havoc, measurable, done this multiple times. They've been able to find this in the studies. If you want the studies, check out the links. I also have on YouTube, I have a whole video where I break down all the research for like 60 minutes straight. And so here's what we know, is that adjusting the spine restores spinal function, and it actually changes the way the brain functions. So when we're talking about chiropractic care, this dad who makes this remark at me because I'm there to find people who get hurt and then invite them into my office, I don't adjust people because they're in pain. what I would actually like to see is I would like to see every single one of those families in the trampoline park come into my practice because they understand that the likelihood that their kid is actually going to get injured goes down as a result of having chiropractic care if they come and get adjusted and then they go to the trampoline park. And the question is why? Is because we're changing the way that the brain functions. Listen to this one. Proper posture, proper alignment, and nervous system function are directly related to balance, eye movements, so think hand-eye coordination, and control over your breathing. So why would you not want a kid who, by adjusting the brain and waking up the nervous system the way that we do inside of our office, why would you not want a kid with better balance, better eye movements, and better control over their breathing? Guess what that means? It means that they're more in a more relaxed state. They're more at an optimal functioning level, meaning that they're less likely to get injured. There's a ton of studies that show that chiropractic care actually increases our brain's ability to accurately interpret where in space a joint is, whether it's an ankle or a knee or a hip or an elbow or a wrist or a shoulder, and all of our spine as well. And so the reason I share this with you is because there's so much research, there's so much science that says the better the spine is functioning, the better the nervous system is functioning, the less likely you are to get injured because you have a better awareness of the joints in your body. And if you have a better awareness, your muscles are going to fire better. If you have a better awareness, your eye movements are going to be better. Your breathing is going to be better. Your balance is going to be better. Your coordination is going to be better. Literally everything goes up as a result of what? Of properly moving joints of the spine. So when this guy comes at me with this comment about oh, you just come because kids are going to get hurt, it's yeah, kids might get hurt, but it would be infinitely more important if parents understood that they already had their kids under care because they wanted their balance to be better, so that their body was more aware of what's happening in the system. And then this is where it gets really interesting, because if we want to go success, if we want to go optimal function, you hear me talk about this all the time, is that I truly believe, I don't even say I believe, I know 100% that every single one of us has the exact same God-given potential to be successful. We all have the same potential to be successful, to be healthy, to express life full out, to experience life full out, to do the things that we love to do, to live out our soul purpose and soul passion. And these are not just words. This is what I live every single day inside my office. This is what I live for me and my family. And I'll share it with you. Here's what the research says, is that chronically elevated levels of physiological stress is a plausible model for how poverty, these researchers, Gary Evans and Michael Schomburg, they use the word poverty. They don't use the word stress. They say poverty. Listen to this again. Chronically elevated physiological stress is a plausible model for how poverty could get into someone's brain and eventually interfere with achievement. They don't say what kind of achievement, because here's what we know from the science and the research, is that the more stress someone has as a kid, whether it's slips and falls, whether it's bumps and bruises, whether it's moving to a new home, whether it's changing schools, whether it's the pressure of sports or the pressure of the parents or an alcoholic dad or an absent mom or social media, or all the pressures that kids have today, every single one of those stressors increase stress in the body. And if our joints of our spine don't move when we have a stress, guess what? Our body stays in a elevated physiological stressed out state. And that physiological stressed out state, according to the researchers, not Dr. Daniel Kimbley, but according to the researchers, is that what we know is that that stress changes the way the brain functions, and it actually interferes with achievement. So when we talk about achievement, yes, we're talking about making more money, but we're also talking about divorce rate, drug use rate, alcohol abuse rate, any and all chronic disease levels go down the less stress there is. This is why we adjust people inside of my practice. It has nothing to do with the pain of the kiddo who hurt his knee at the trampoline park, sir. It actually has everything to do with you and your grandkids and every single person who steps through our doors functioning at the highest level, period. Point blank. It has to do with achievement. It has to do with awareness. Listen to this. If we go on, we can talk about stress in the typical American, but here's what we know, is that neck joint dysfunction significantly impairs cognitive processing. This means our ability to think through something. Neck joint dysfunction impairs our cognitive processing, and that impairment is unlikely due to the presence of pain itself. This is Dr. Julianne Barba, Michael Holmes, Dr. Heather Murphy, Dr. Heidi Havoc, Dr. Bernadette Murphy. They all did this study. Again, reproducible. So what are they saying here? They're literally saying this, is that you can have improperly moving joints in your spine. You can have no pain, which is key and crucial in all of this. You can have no pain whatsoever and still have impairment of your cognitive processing, of your ability to think, of your ability to reason, of your ability to do well in school. Wouldn't you want every single parent on this planet to be able to cognitively process at a higher level? Myself included. This is why I get adjusted multiple times a week. This is why my daughter gets adjusted multiple times a week. This is why my wife and Danielle, our office manager, and the people that we take care of get adjusted week in and week out, is because we understand that this has nothing to do with pain. It has everything to do with the brain. It has everything to do with success. It has everything to do with achievement. It has everything to do with what we are able to do and experience as human beings. Last piece of research: movement, touch, human connection, and connection to nature ensure development of posture, bilateral coordination, and optimal states of self-regulation. States of self-regulation, being able to control ourselves. There's so many people, we live in a world where all the time I hear parents are like, my kid can't control their outbursts, they're emotional, they're temper tantrums, they're this. And then we see adults who grow up and have no control over their emotions, and then they wonder why their kids act the exact same way as they do. It's because there's so much stress in the body that is literally interfering with achievement. If we go back to Gary Evans and Michelle Schamberg, their study saying that literally chronically elevated physiological stress will lead to poverty. They're using the word poverty and stress interchangeably. How interesting is it? Like if everybody thought about this and the conventional mainstream Western medicine talked about it this way, is that, hey, guess what? Stress is actually going to lead to poverty. Like, if you don't do things to deal with it, yes, meditation is great, yes, exercise is great, yes, eating clean is great, yes, taking your supplements is great, but guess what? If you don't address the nervous system, the things that controls all those other things in the first place, then you're literally missing the boat. And this is why, my friends, this is why we adjust joints of the spine. Because every time we have a fight or flight or a stress response, we're designed to get up and fight or run away. But usually, I would say 99% of the time in the society, in the world that we live in, is we don't fight or run away. Instead, we stay locked in our stressed out state, we stay here, we feel trapped, we feel stuck, our body has physiological stress, and then guess what? According to Evans and Schamberg, this elevated physiological stress will get into our brain and eventually interfere with achievement. This is why we see people the way that we do. So when I get the snide comment from the dude who's like, oh, you're just fishing for new patients, like, has nothing to do with new patients, because if it was my world, all these people would already be under care anyway. They'd be getting adjusted on their way in. Why? Because it has everything to do with achievement. It has everything to do with balance. It has everything to do with coordination. It has everything to do with development. It has everything to do with people living full out and expressing the highest level of themselves, and you literally cannot do that with elevated chronic stress. And the only way to turn off the stress response that I know of at 100% is to have the joints of the spine moving well. That's what all the research states. That's everything we talked about today. So my friends, I encourage you, just stop taking the lie for what it is, and stop seeing all the ads from the other chiropractors and the other people who say, like, stretching is going to fix you, meditation is going to fix you, come in and we'll get you out of pain. Like, it has nothing to do with pain. Your pain is a result of something else. Their pain is a result of something else. Yes, we can get pain to go away, but this is about achievement. This is about connection. This is about creating a healthier and better world, and that's what I stand on, and I'm literally going to keep on pushing this message because I think it's the most important thing I could share with you. So I encourage you, stop being lied to. Just try to start to shift the story that you tell yourself about why chiropractic care. Why do we do this? Why would we do this? And I guarantee you it will change your life, and it would for this guy and his family, for sure, 100% guaranteed. If they could only get on board, but they've been fed a lie their entire lives, that's super hard to break. So my friends, I love you, appreciate you, hope you got some value out of it. I'll come at you again next week. Peace.